The first one is when a responsibility is given in the church to me, I'm very happy to do it alone. But when I'm asked to share that responsibility with others, I feel uncomfortable and become restless. First of all, I want to praise the Lord for someone who's so honest as to admit that. You know, the first step to deliverance from any bad habit or sin is to be honestly acknowledge that I'm like that. If you don't acknowledge it, you know, the problem with Adam, when God asked him, did you eat this tree? He should have said, yes, I'm sorry, I did it. Instead of that, he said, no, my wife. So the moment you don't, we've all got that habit of putting the blame on somebody else. But if you can acknowledge, Lord, there's something wrong with me, you can be delivered from it. The one who confesses his sin will get deliverance. So the reason why you get uneasy and uncomfortable when you're asked to share the responsibility with others is two things. One, the glory will belong to everybody and not only to you. You know, you'll feel, well, I want all the good credit for myself for what I did. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, if you're doing it yourself, you can have your own way. You don't have to deny yourself in anything, because if you work with another person, he'll say, hey, let's do it like this. And you have to sort of compromise, not compromise in terms of your convictions, but you have to yield in some areas when you work together. And see, this is the big problem in married life. There's a lot of people who thought they had a wonderful spiritual life when they were single. They thought it was spiritual. They got married and discovered all of a sudden they're not spiritual. It's not that they suddenly became carnal. No. The thing is, when you're single and you have a problem with people outside, you can pull away from them and go to your room and retreat and be by yourself and you're okay. But when you get married and you have a problem outside and you pull back to your room, there's somebody else in your room, your wife, and you can't get away from her, then you discover that you're utterly selfish. You see, one of the great discoveries that people make when they get married is how thoroughly selfish they are if they're honest. And if they're willing to put that self to death and say, Lord, thank you, I never knew how selfish I was till I got married. I want to put it to death to follow Jesus. See, a lot of people who are single, who are never married, I tell you, they never discover how selfish they are. Never. I mean, you've got to have really be radical and wholehearted like Jesus and Paul to see selfishness and fight it. But the average single person never discovers it. So when you have to work together with other people, you'll get a lot of discovery of your own selfishness. And if you're interested in becoming like Jesus, you'll be thanking God that you worked with somebody else. And that's why in many churches, they like to have one pastor whom nobody questions. And there are some elders also who behave like pastors. They're useless. God has made multiple elders in a church because we have to yield to one another. I've always, all these 45 years, I've always worked with others. And that's been a very good experience for me, where I yield what I think I should do, and I say, let's do it your way. And that's the way. So learn to, if you're really interested in sanctification, you'll be delighted to work with others. If you're only interested in yourself and your own gain and your own honor, you will not work with others.